Ever feel like, ugh, traditional learning is kind of like trying to cram a giant encyclopedia into your brain?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, today we're diving into The Critical Writer.
Oh, I like this one.
It's a book that kind of throws that whole model out the window.
Okay, sounds
To
interesting.
get ready to explore inquiry. It's about, like, becoming the world's best detective for knowledge.
And trust me, it's way more engaging than your average textbook. We're not just like talking about memorizing facts here. It's about really getting to the core of what makes information, tick.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole inquiry thing.
Yeah.
It's more than just Googling until you hit, like, information overload. Right?
You got it. The authors, they differentiate between inquiry and research in a really fascinating way.
Okay, how so?
Imagine, like, a sculptor slowly chipping away at a block of stone,
Right.
revealing this masterpiece hidden within. That's inquiry. It's asking the right questions to, uncover the truth, not just scratching the surface.
They use this amazing word, unconcealment. It's like we're on an archaeological dig, carefully brushing away layers to reveal this hidden knowledge.
Yeah, and it makes the writing process feel so much more like active and exciting, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And to kind of guide us on this journey of unconcealment, they've given us this thing, the Carroll Wilson Inquiry Schemata.
The what?
The Carroll Wilson Inquiry Schemata. Think of it as a treasure map.
Okay.
It leads us through different phases of the inquiry process.
Ooh, a treasure map. Okay, I'm intrigued. So how does this roadmap actually work?
Well, it starts with you. The first phase is all about tapping into your existing knowledge. You never approach a topic completely empty-handed.
That's true.
You bring your experiences, your observations, those aha moments you've collected along the way.
So it's about acknowledging that we all kind of come to the table with some prior knowledge, even if it's just a gut feeling or, a random fact we picked up somewhere.
Precisely. From there, we move into more familiar territory, I guess. We're talking gathering information. Think, research, but with a purpose. It's not just about collecting a random assortment of facts, but finding those golden nuggets that really support your evolving understanding of the topic.
This is where those late-night Wikipedia rabbit holes can get a little dangerous, am I right?
Oh, definitely. That's why the next phase, drafting, is crucial. This is where you start to, shape the clay, so to speak. You're molding those raw ideas and information into something coherent.
So it's less about being like a perfect grammarian at this stage and more about getting those thoughts organized and seeing how they connect.
Exactly. The authors emphasize that it's not like a linear process,
Yeah.
You might jump back and forth between gathering information and drafting, refining your questions and your understanding as you go.
That sounds way more true to how my brain actually works.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to play around with ideas, like
Right.
on paper, before I even know what I'm really looking for.
And the beauty of this model is that it embraces that messiness. It acknowledges that inquiry is a very dynamic process, not some rigid formula. Finally, you reach the polishing phase, refining your thinking and tightening up your writing.
That's where you bring out the grammar police, right?
Exactly. You dot your IS, cross your TS, and make sure your argument really shines through. Now, what makes this book really sing is that it doesn't just throw theory at you.
Yeah.
It brings inquiry to life through these vivid examples.
Oh, like what?
Like Travis Leach's 7th grade classroom.
I have to admit, when I first saw
Yeah.
7th grade persuasive essays, I thought, oh boy, here we go. But this Travis Leach, he sounds like a rock star teacher.
He really is. He uses inquiry to get those kids fired up about writing, tackling hot button issues.
Oh, it's what?
Like junk food taxes and the ethics of beauty pageants. We're talking lively debates, passionate arguments, and most importantly, kids discovering the power of their own voices.
Okay, I'm picturing this classroom just buzzing with energy, kids waving their hands in the air, eager to share their thoughts. How does he get them so engaged?
He's a master at guiding them to connect with their existing knowledge. They tap into their own experiences, opinions, and those hot takes they've picked up from, life. This becomes the fuel for their research,
Wow.
turning dry facts into ammunition for their arguments.
So it's not just about finding information to please the teacher. It's about finding information that fuels their own desire to be heard, to make a difference.
That's incredible.
And I love that he focuses on the thesis statement as like a promise to the reader. It's not just some stuffy academic requirement. It's about setting the stage for a compelling argument.
Absolutely. And remember Mary Beth.
Oh, yeah. What about her?
She struggled initially, but blossomed into this powerful advocate against child beauty pageants.
Let's talk about a mic drop moment. She went from a hesitant writer to a force to be reckoned with. Her story really brings home the transformative power of inquiry. But the book doesn't just stay stuck in a traditional classroom. It takes on the digital age head-on with this fascinating concept of the iSearch.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those iSearch papers we used to do?
Ken McElroy would be proud. The authors have taken his concept and launched it into the 21st century.
They didn't just slap an eye on it and call it a day, did they?
Definitely not. They recognize that the digital landscape has radically changed how we access and process information. Blogs, databases, online surveys, these become tools for unearthing deeper meaning.
It's like they're saying, hey, embrace the digital world, but don't let it, lead you around by the nose.
Right, exactly.
You've got to be the one asking the questions, sifting through all that noise online, finding the gold nuggets of truth.
Yeah, and it's not just about changing the I to an I. It's about really recognizing how the online world can either be this, gold mine for inquiry or just a total black hole of distraction.
So how do we navigate this whole digital landscape, this digital world, without losing our minds?
Well, they emphasize critical thinking, right? That's our compass.
Okay.
They give us a toolkit for evaluating sources online. It's about looking beyond, the shiny surface and asking those tough questions.
Like what kind of questions?
Like who wrote this? Why? What are their credentials? Is there any bias creeping in?
It's like those detective shows where they teach you to look for clues at a crime scene, a stray hair, a misplaced footprint.
Yeah.
You got to be able to spot the telltale signs of a credible source.
Absolutely. And they even have this trick for checking a website's backlinks.
Backlinks, what's that?
Yeah, I'd never thought of it before, but it's really interesting.
Great.
Basically, you're looking at who else is linking to that site. Are they reputable sources, or are they, well, let's just say, less than trustworthy characters in the digital world?
Oh, okay. So it's like checking the references of a potential roommate before you sign that lease.
Exactly.
That's a game changer. It makes you realize that not everything on the internet deserves a standing ovation.
The internet has made information incredibly accessible, but it's also really amplified the need for critical thinking.
Yeah.
We can't just blindly accept everything we read.
Okay, so we've got our detective hats on, we're navigating this digital maze, and we're gathering those really valuable insights. But then what? How do we take all that raw material, all that information, and turn it into something meaningful, something that goes beyond just a regurgitation of facts?
That's where things get really, really interesting. The authors introduced this new form called TOTUS.
TOTUS?
Yeah.
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Right.
What is that?
It's about recognizing that we learn and express ourselves in these really diverse ways, not just through the written word. TOTUS encourages us to blend genres, weave together text, images, audio, video.
So it's like creating this multimedia tapestry of knowledge.
Exactly.
Engaging all the senses, painting this much richer picture.
And it's about finding the most powerful and effective way to really convey your understanding of a topic.
Okay.
Imagine a student, right?
Right.
They're researching climate change.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
they're doing it through a TOTUS lens.
Okay.
They might include a written report, sure, but also incorporate a video montage of melting glaciers, audio recordings of climate refugees, even an interactive map showing rising sea levels.
Wow, talk about an immersive learning experience.
Yeah.
Suddenly, climate change isn't just this abstract concept in a textbook. It's real, it's visceral, it's impossible to ignore.
That's the power of TOTUS.
Mhm.
It helps us connect with information on this deeper level, making it more meaningful, more memorable.
I'm thinking back to all those times I struggled to stay awake during a dry lecture.
Oh.
Imagine if we had been exposed to this kind of dynamic learning earlier on.
It's about sparking curiosity, making learning feel more like an adventure than a chore.
They even mentioned this student project where they explored the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Through this TOTUS lens.
Uh-huh.
It sounds incredibly powerful and moving.
It's a perfect example of how TOTUS can breathe life into even the most challenging and sensitive topics. By incorporating primary sources, personal narratives, historical footage, it creates an experience that stays with you long after you've, finished the project.
It's about honoring those stories, those voices from the past.
Yeah.
Ensuring that we never forget the lessons they have to teach us. It's more than just an academic exercise. It's about empathy, understanding, connecting with, the human experience in all its complexity.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that, learning can happen anywhere, not just within like the four walls of a classroom,
Yeah.
right? It's about being open to those new perspectives, those new ways of seeing the world, new forms of expression.
Yeah, and the authors, they really drive home this point that inquiry isn't just for students.
Right.
It's a mindset. It's like a way of life for anyone who wants to keep growing and evolving.
It's that lifelong learner spirit we hear so much about. But this book actually gives you the tools
Right.
to like make it happen.
So as we emerge from this deep dive into the critical writer, what are some key takeaways for our listeners, whether they're students, educators, or just, curious souls?
Yeah.
How can they put these ideas into practice?
You know, what struck me most is how this book really reframes learning as this active adventure,
Okay.
not a passive chore.
Yeah.
It's about embracing curiosity, like as a superpower,
I like that.
asking those bold questions and digging for those aha moments that make knowledge truly stick.
It reminds me of when I first discovered, podcasts like this one. It wasn't just about someone lecturing at me. It was about feeling like I was part of a conversation, uncovering these fascinating insights along the way. I think that's a fantastic analogy. It's about shifting from a mindset of, I need to know this to I want to uncover this.
Yeah.
And I think that shift in perspective can make all the difference.
This book isn't just about like acing your next essay or becoming, a research whiz.
Right.
It's about approaching the world with this more critical, more discerning eye.
Absolutely. And recognizing that we all have biases, assumptions.
Yeah.
There's ingrained ways of thinking that can cloud our judgment. Inquiry helps us chip away at those layers and see the world with, fresh eyes.
It's like that feeling you get when you travel to a new place.
Yeah.
And suddenly you realize how much you took for granted about like your own culture, your own perspective.
Yeah.
Everything feels new, exciting.
Right. And the critical writer reminds us that we don't need a plane ticket to experience that sense of wonder.
That's true.
It's available to us, anytime, anywhere,
Right.
if we cultivate that spirit of inquiry.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious. What's one thing our listeners can do, like today, to tap into that inner explorer, to embark on their own inquiry journey?
It can be as simple as choosing a topic that truly piques your interest.
Yeah.
Not something you should learn about,
Right.
but something that genuinely sparks your curiosity.
Maybe it's like a historical event you've always wondered about.
Right.
Or a scientific mystery that boggles your mind, or even, a social issue that you feel super passionate about.
Exactly. And once you've got that spark, let the Carroll Wilson inquiry schemata be your guide. Remember, it all starts with you. It starts with your own existing knowledge and experience.
Right.
What do you already know about this topic?
Yeah.
What questions, keep you up at night?
And from there, dive into the research, but do it with purpose. Look for those sources that not only inform, but also challenge your thinking, push you to consider new perspectives, and don't be afraid to experiment, right? Experiment with those different forms of expression.
Find what works for you.
Maybe you're a wordsmith who loves crafting essays. Maybe you're a visual learner who thrives on creating videos or infographics. Whatever it is, just go for it.
Let that creativity flow.
Who knows? You might even invent the next TOTUS and just revolutionize the way we learn.
The possibilities are truly endless when you embrace the power of inquiry.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Remember, folks, stay curious, keep exploring, and never be afraid to ask those what-if questions that lead to those really transformative learning experiences.